thank you guys for tuning into a special Wednesday version of the Jock Talk podcast. Again, Matt here along with Brock
Reporting live from UNCW.
from UNCW.
Seahawks.
Excuse the no picture for Brock. A little bit of a poor reception down there, but the voices are all that matter. We got a pretty good show for you guys
Not for
here.
me.
We got a pretty good show for you guys today, and go over a crazy opening weekend in college football, and then preview NFL Week 1. Football is officially back. I think I can speak for sure for Brock, and then for a large majority of people in the United States that are pretty stoked that football is officially back. So let's hop right into it. The top 25 polls came out. Was it yesterday?
Yes.
While I was at work, Brock sent me a text message about the Badgers moving all the way up to number 10. Kind of crazy to go from unranked to number 10 for the Badgers. I know Brock and most people, I think, were just as surprised as for Wisconsin moving up to number 10, that Texas moved all the way up to number 11. What are your thoughts on the first polls, Brock? Now, there's some other things that happened that were pretty surprising, I would say, for most people. But what are your thoughts on those two specifically, Texas and Wisconsin?
Yeah, I thought it was a little out of the ordinary, especially for the standings and the polls. I didn't expect Wisconsin to be top 10. I thought maybe 15 at the absolute highest. They played well. I'll give them credit. They played very well against LSU defense, and stopped a very good LSU rushing attack. It was an impressive win for the Badgers, especially losing one of their starting linebackers the first series of the game. They all battled around that and played really well. So I am very shocked that they're 10, but they definitely deserve to be ranked after beating LSU opponent. In a neutral field, I guess they would say, in Lambeau. That's definitely a home game. But
yeah, definitely. You mentioned the linebacker going out. It's Chris Orr. He went out on the very first play of the game, actually, I believe, the first offensive play of the game. And unfortunately, he looks like he's going to be out for the year with a torn ACL. So it's going to be a little bit of a blow to the Badgers' defense. However, a bunch of other players stepped up, including TJ Watt, another younger brother of Derek and JJ Watt. He's battled back from 2 season-ending knee surgeries and really stepped up and played really well. Reminded me a lot of a Chris Borland with a little bit more athleticism, the kind of run stopper who can also play sideline to sideline. But a really good game for the Badgers, like you said. The numbers on the rushing attack are probably a little bit more deceiving. I think Leonard Fournette finished with like 166 yards, but it was a very, very quiet 160 yards for him against the Badgers defense.
It really was. It was a couple big runs here and there.
Mostly in the beginning of the second half, that first drive, he really started taking it to him.
Bart Houston threw a terrible interception on our own 7, and it just set up an easy touchdown for that LSU offense, which that'll come with the growth and playing time in the starting group, especially for Bart Houston being a 5th-year senior.
Yeah, I think he played well. I think it arguably probably one of the best defenses he'll face all season, I think, maybe outside of
Ohio State
or Michigan.
Yeah.
But I'm happy with the way he played. He was a game manager, but that's really all you needed him to be. Troy Fumagalli, tight end, seemed to be his favorite target, which, when you have an inexperienced quarterback here, they're going to see a lot of dump downs to running backs or checkoffs to tight end. So not too surprising at all that we were going to see that.
Yeah, it's Bart Houston. He has upside to him, and I'm not going to say it's going to lead us to the Final Four, but he can win us some games. I did like what I saw out of him the first game. He made a couple bad decisions, but that's the first game working out the kinks, which we'll see in the next few games, especially Akron coming up this week. Hopefully it can build some confidence for him and that offensive line to run the ball even better this week. But ain't gonna lie, Akron put up a lot of yards last week. I don't have any stats down, but I saw that offense scored some points. So our defense can't slack off this week and just assume, hey, this is Akron. We're just going to walk right over them. They have to come out just like they did against LSU and show them that, hey, we're here to play some defense. You're not going to score.
Yeah, I think one of the main things for the Badgers is not settling for field goals when they get down to the red zone. Thankfully, they have a pretty reliable kicker in the burly Brazilian Rafael Gaglianone, who was really good. Saturday, he actually switched his jersey number to honor Sam Foltz, who was one of the kickers from Nebraska, who unfortunately died in a car crash earlier this year. So a pretty cool moment for him. And he came through in the clutch Saturday. Another thing with this weekend, just talking around with people, we didn't expect the Badgers. I didn't expect the Badgers to be much higher than 20 at the highest for me. I was expecting them to be like 22, 23. But it seems like this poll more than others in the past, especially in the past, used a lot more of the eye test than just, a team won, let's, raise them up because they won. But no, the Badgers went up, to the top 10. Texas went up to number 11. But then also you have teams like Tennessee who, they won, but they won sloppy against Appalachian State. Tennessee dropped 8 spots. Florida won, but won sloppy against, I believe it was UMass, and they dropped out of the top 25. So, it seems to me like it was a little bit more of the eye test this poll than one I can think of in recent memory now. I know you have a couple of notes from the Texas Notre Dame game, and Texas again one of those teams who made a huge jump. What do you think about the Longhorns, or what did you think about the Longhorns from that game?
It was a fun game to watch if you got to see it. There's a lot of points scored. If you love offense, that was your game to watch. I think there was 1, maybe 2 turnovers that whole game. So overall, defensively, both teams need to focus on defense, especially going forward if they want to contend. Because if Texas puts up that kind of defensive effort against almost any other team, I don't know if they'll be able to keep winning games, because that was also a lousy defensive performance by Notre Dame. But one thing I did like about Texas is that 2 quarterback system actually worked, and everyone's saying Swoops was the running quarterback, which he was, but I'm not sure how to pronounce his name correctly, but Buechele.
Shane Buechele, great football name. Reminds me of Bobby Boucher.
He was impressive, not only passing the ball, he showed some spurts of running. I think he was the 3rd or 4th leading rusher on the team with over 200 rushing yards for the team. Swoops had 3 rushing touchdowns. Buechele, I think, had 2 passing and 1 rushing. So overall, that 2 quarterback system didn't really play in effect like a lot of people would have thought it would.
Yeah, I think that I'm forgetting the name of the the running quarterback. Is it Tyrone Swoops?
Yes,
Um, Now he came in and he ran a lot. I think there was a stat in the first half where Texas quarterbacks were like 9 of 9, and all
yes,
9 of those passes were from the true freshmen. So
yep,
I think Tyrone Swoops last year kind of got a bad rep because he was expected to be the quarterback who ran and passed, and I think that this is one of those systems that actually could work for Texas um, where Tyrone Swoops comes in and he runs the ball. I mean, if they can, Notre Dame had to know that the run was coming, and they still couldn't stop it really. So
yeah.
I think
That's
with
a testament to the O line. Really, they showed that they wanted to run the ball, they could do it. They wanted to pass the ball, they could do it. So that was impressive from Texas uh, big nasties. Also, a lot of people slept on this guy, Donta Foreman. He was the running back for Texas. He also had 131 yards rushing,
oh
and
wow, I didn't know that.
no one's even talking about that. They're just talking about the two quarterbacks and Swoops getting that um, uh, lunging touchdown to seal it in overtime. Which give him credit, but Dante Foreman, 131 yards rushing with I think he had one touchdown. Um, Going unrecognized is pretty impressive. Also, 131 yards rushing on top of everybody else in the game and he was quiet.
Yeah, I think what you said at the beginning though is going to be important. Where um, if Texas continues to play this kind of defense, especially in the Big 12 more than any other conference is known for putting up the points. With when you have Texas Tech, you have TCU, Oklahoma State,
Uh,
you have Baylor, who's gonna put up, they're gonna put up points this year. So I think what you said there is gonna be really, really important.
but
Yeah. Anything else on the Longhorns?
I was actually going to switch sides and go to Notre Dame real quick. They didn't have too many bright spots, but I will say I think they found their quarterback in Kaiser. He was officially named full starter now. I believe I've seen that just
Yep, I
earlier.
just got that update as well.
But if you look at him, um, he had a good game, actually a above average game. A little more passing yards you would have liked to see out of him, but 215 yards passing, 5 touchdown passes, and the big one is 0 interceptions. 0 interceptions. So that just, I think Notre Dame found their quarterback, so they got to figure a couple things out on defense. Notre Dame could still be in it. They do have to play better defense, obviously, seeing all the points and yards that were put up on that defense. They
Yeah,
lost Miles Jack last year, so or
wrong team there.
wrong team. They look the same. What's that? What
Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith? Yes, they play
Yes.
the same. They play the exact same. So
Tomato, tomato.
yeah, pretty much. But yeah, they lost. That's a big loss at linebacker. So
Yeah,
I do like Notre Dame in their offense. It's just that defense, like I said, is a struggle. So
I'm kind of surprised you haven't mentioned his name. I don't know if it's because you're kind of scared to butcher it like a lot of the college football announcers did, but they've got one of the great names in college football at the receiver position.
yeah, I'll let you say that.
Now I don't know if I'm going to be saying it right either, but I believe it's pronounced Equanimous St. Brown. That's a solid name. Solid name. Um,
It sounds like that Key and Peele skit.
um, Now you mentioned that you don't think Notre Dame's out of it. I think, without getting too much into the college football playoff, I think they are. Just because you got to think the SEC champion, the ACC champion, possibly the Big Ten champion, and then moving on to a team that I had in the college football playoff, that I had pulling the biggest upset this week, arguably, the Houston Cougars. I just want to pat myself on the back a little bit. I know I did this last week, but so we did talk about this last week a little bit. But one player that I didn't, or I don't believe I got to mention last week, since we brought up Texas, is Duke Catalan. He was a transfer from Texas. Believe he sat out last year and possibly even the year before, but he had a really good game for the Cougars. Again, transfer from Texas. So I'm really excited to see what Houston does the rest of this season, to see if they do make it to the college football playoff. I just want to go back to the Badgers a little bit more, just a little bit in comparison for them and Texas. Which do you think now, just from watching or listening to ESPN or listening to the radio or looking up or watching things on Twitter or whatever it is, what do you think was the bigger surprise? LSU Wisconsin or Texas Notre Dame?
I'm going to say this without skipping a beat, is the Texas Notre Dame. Because I would say that Wisconsin wasn't that far out of the top 25 if you looked at the others getting votes before the season. They were probably sitting at 30. So Texas, nobody expected this right away, week one against Notre Dame. No one expected that, but also no one expected the Badgers. But like I said, the Badgers were probably ranked higher than Texas, but Texas moving all the way up to 11 was just as outrageous as I think the Badgers going to 10.
Yeah.
I'll take it, but whatever.
Definitely. Now, one of the few top teams who didn't have a letdown or anything like that. So Clemson, I think, actually did struggle with
mightily.
With Auburn. I'm waiting to see how many first place votes they get, to see if they're a little bit less than the preseason poll.
I think they
wouldn't
have
be surprised.
One. I think they have one.
Alabama absolutely steamrolled over USC in the, especially in the second half of that game. I think the final was like 56-3, and
yes,
Alabama looked really good with a freshman. I believe don't remember if he was a true freshman quarterback that took over in the second half, or just a redshirt freshman, but still nonetheless a freshman quarterback. Picking them apart, and of course the Alabama defense. But then another game that was, and you can say this about 6 or 7 games this weekend, but the game of the weekend arguably, Florida State Ole Miss. I got to catch just a little bit of that game. Unfortunately, I think the last play that I got to see was when the Ole Miss defensive back hurt his leg and was carted off the field. But I know you have some news and notes on that game, so why don't you go ahead with that?
Yeah, from what I saw in that Florida State game early, especially the first half, it looked like Ole Miss was just going to take that game away and run with it. It did not look good. Chad Kelly and the Ole Miss offense looked like a well-oiled machine. They looked good. Florida State looked sluggish and all that, but that second half turned around. I put this in my notes, not knowing what really happened, but I said Jimbo Fisher must have had one of the greatest speeches ever at halftime. But looking at it now, what I saw was Jameis Winston learned at
Grab legs Winston, baby.
And I watched that. I feel like I want to just bust through a wall. Like, I didn't even care. Like, that is Jameis Winston might have won that game for the Florida State Seminoles, really.
Yeah, I saw that he had a comment today saying something along the lines of, I just didn't want those guys to look that way on national TV. Which, I mean, and whatever he said, I haven't seen the chance to watch the video, but obviously worked.
We'll post it on Twitter, don't worry. Yeah, that second half, it was Francois and Delvin Cook's show combined. They put up 600 yards of offense. That whole game was 600 yards between those two. I think they finished with just a little over 700 yards of total offense in the game. But
Yeah, that I didn't get a chance to see that. One of the things I was going to mention is that Dalvin Cook didn't look impressive in the first. I mean, the first couple of drives that I got to see, but obviously that changed.
it was actually a lot. Like he had a lot of touches in the passing game. He had, I think, 7 catches for over 100 yards, and like 90 some yards rushing. But Francois looked really good in that second half. On the flip side of that, that defense was amazing the second half. Like, you could not ask for a better start. On Ole Miss's 3 first possessions in a row was turnovers.
Oh wow!
Seven plays, 3 turnovers. They had 10 plays in that third quarter. 10 plays, which is unheard of. You're not going to win a game if you have 10 plays a quarter. And it's hard to come back. It's hard to come back when you give up 33 unanswered points. 33. Like, you are up that much, and that's just a blow to the morale. And that fourth quarter, you're like, oh boy, they're playing not to. At that point, they were playing not to lose more than playing to win, which obviously hurt them. And Florida State came out with a win.
Yeah, definitely. I would be interested to wait for Elias Sports Bureau to tweet it through ESPN the last time a team won while running only 10 plays in a single quarter.
ESPN random fact of the day, I feel like.
Yes. We'll have to tweet that out later, possibly. So yeah, like I said, it was a really really good college football opening weekend. I know the four-letter network ESPN was hyping it up as the best college football weekend ever.
Obviously, you know, I'm a defensive guy, and I will say the best defense of the week goes to that Alabama defense. I don't know if you've seen stats on it. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier. You talked about the 2 freshman quarterbacks, 2, Jalen Hurts and Blake Barnett. But besides that, flip it around to that defense. They gave up to one of the not highly recognized quarterbacks, but one that everyone expected to do a lot better with this USC offense was Max Brown. They held him to 100 yards passing. 100 yards passing. And as a team, that USC offense finished with 130 yards passing and 64 yards rushing. It's 194 yards of total offense. Total.
You know, you mentioned... Oh, go ahead.
And the sophomore running back from Alabama on 9 carries, 9 carries at 138 yards. He himself had more rushing yards than the USC offense had passing. So credit to that Bama's defense. That defense is always a contender for best defense of the year. But we saw that Bama, sadly, is a contender.
Alabama. Sorry.
Is another contender again. Everyone hates to hear it, but they are. And I'd say watch out. They might be front runners now. Give it a couple more weeks. We will see.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people expected Alabama kind of to cruise versus USC, but just a bunch of other players or teams that kind of broke the mold from this opening weekend of players or teams struggling against teams where they shouldn't have. So Tennessee struggled against Appalachian State. Virginia lost to Richmond. Virginia's not going to be a very good team, but still.
Western losing.
Yeah, Miami losing to, Florida struggling to UMass, but
who else? Who lost to on that? Who lost to Southern Alabama?
Mississippi State lost to South Alabama.
Oh, that I would say that's one of the worst losses.
Yeah. And it was a home game.
Yeah, this whole first week
Yeah,
South Alabama,
but
USA,
uh,
USA.
yeah, on the you saw uh, on the bright side though, teams that lived up to expectations are players. Michigan and Jabril Peppers lived up to
Yes, that's my
expectations.
boy. That's my boy,
Um,
Jabril.
yeah,
Everyone
Ohio State after the first
play.
two possessions lived up to, and JT Barrett lived up to expectations. I would say Nick Chubb exceeded expectations
Oh,
with
of
222
course.
yards rushing.
32 carries, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Big fan.
um,
Big fan.
absolutely. So, I was pretty excited to see that after all the upsets and close games of teams and players specifically playing the way that they should have. I mean, everybody loves an upset, but there comes a time where you just want to see good teams and good players put up 158 points on Southwest Texas State A&M. Um, but do you have anything else from college football for this past weekend?
Not really. I mean, we covered most of the stuff that we didn't cover a few days ago. But
Yeah.
any big games that you want to talk about coming up this week for college football? I didn't see many, but I mean, there
Yeah,
might be one.
there's not a ton of big games like there were last weekend. I think there are bunch of really a bunch of really solid games. I think the biggest one for me, and it might be just because it's getting hyped, but Virginia Tech at Tennessee. It's a neutral site game at Bristol Motor Speedway. It's going to be the biggest football game of all time in terms of in terms of attendance. Having it um, at a racetrack, obviously. So I think that's really cool. I would say I think there's a couple of trap games. Watch out for Louisville going to Syracuse.
Hmm.
Syracuse usually has one game a year where they give someone a fit. It's a
We'll see.
weird atmosphere in the Carrier Dome.
We'll see. We'll see what Lamar Jackson is actually made of in the upcoming weeks, and not against a Charlotte team that's played for a year and a half.
Yeah, I don't think Louisville loses that game, but I think it's just a watch out kind of game. And I think there were a couple of other games. Obviously, there's Iowa State at Iowa, just a big rivalry game
Hmm.
there. I know a very popular upset pick, even though UNC lost this past week, but UNC travels to Illinois to face Lovie Smith and the Illini.
I forgot Lovey went there.
Yeah,
That could turn that Illinois program around in like 2 or 3 years. I'll give it
yeah.
4 years. 4 years.
I was I was talking to hashtag Carlos about that
Oh,
the
get
other
other
day.
Carlos.
Yes,
When's he getting a
about
Twitter? He needs a Twitter now.
he doesn't even have a Facebook, so Twitter's probably a little bit further away.
Well, does
I
he
think he just got a Yahoo Mail account the other day, actually.
email him?
Yeah.
We'll get his email. Everybody can email him.
Who is this Jay Jackson 11 tweeting at me? No. But yeah, I think Virginia Tech Tennessee is probably the game I'm most looking forward to. Unfortunately, I will not get to see any games on Saturday as I will be visiting my wife's family in northern Minnesota. So
That sucks.
yes, you can bet all your money, take it to the bank that I am taking my Aaron Rodgers jersey, and I will be gladly and proudly wearing that this weekend. But let's get into Aaron Rodgers. Let's get into the NFL. We're gonna go over all the picks from all of our picks from the week. But what are you expected from the Packers against and at Jacksonville?
As a Packer fan, you know as well as I do that first game is a test. It will be. We won't put up 400 yards. Would I love to see it? Oh, definitely, of course. But it might take them a little while. It's going to be closer than most people think it will. I think the game ends up being a 10-point game at most. Most the Packers win. I have the Packers winning clearly by 10 points, but that Jags defense could play good. But there's this bad man, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers throwing a ball against a few rookies out there. So I think it'll go one of two ways. If that young Jags defense can't stop Aaron Rodgers and that revamped offense, if you will, it could be a blowout or it's going to be a shootout because that Jags offense is a very capable offense to put up a good amount of points. They have a young quarterback, a young running back, a decent young receiving crew, good tight end. It's just if they can block for Blake Bortles, is if they can be successful.
Yeah, I agree basically with everything you just said. I was glad to see the other day that Mike McCarthy said that Jordy would be full go with no limitations week 1,
Always good news.
which I know a lot of people were kind of expecting maybe not as good of a news, but some really good news coming there. I think the one thing to look out for, and you mentioned it, is going to be Aaron Rodgers against the young defense there. I'm not sure what the Jags have done to up their secondary. I know they drafted Jalen Ramsey. I know he's been dealing with a little bit of some nagging injury, so it'll be interesting to see what he does there. But I think that Aaron Rodgers comes out, and I think and we weren't planning a bold prediction section. But I don't know how bold of a prediction this is, but I say Aaron Rodgers comes out and he throws for at least 300 yards, at least 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Week 1.
Like you said, I don't know if it's that bold, but I mean, I would love to see it. I have him on one of my fantasy teams.
Yeah, I think historically as Packers fans and knowing how they start out a little bit slow, that's why I was thinking to myself it was a bold prediction. But
yeah,
probably not as bold not as bold to everybody else as I think it is in my own head. But
here's my guess, real quick. First series offensively for the Packers: run, nothing; run, 3 yards; slant, incomplete; punt.
Yeah, I think I think it's gonna go. It's gonna go Eddie Lacy run for 15 yards. Eddie Lacy run for 1. Aaron Rodgers throws deep or tries to go to the sidelines and miscommunicates, or
Devontae Adams drops it.
Devontae Adams drops it, yeah. So I'm thinking it's either going to go 3 and out or they're going to get 1 first down and go from there. But
well, we never know. I mean, we'll never know until Sunday comes and we see, hey, shit, Packers just threw it 40 yards on their first play to Jared Cook.
Yeah. Probably the one. Well, I mean, every skill position for the Packers, you have something to look forward to and wonder how they're going to compete versus last year. Obviously, Eddie Lacy, less fat hamburger Eddie Lacy. You got Jordy coming back at the wide receiver position, Jared Cook at tight end. And then really surprisingly, I don't recall if we got a chance to talk about this, but Josh Sitton being cut.
Yeah.
Pretty interested to see what their starting lineup on the offensive line is going to look like. I've heard rumors of Bulaga moving to guard, and either Lane Taylor, Jason Spriggs lining up at right tackle. So
I believe I saw. I didn't read it, but I got an update because I think I was at work. I got an update that said something about Lane Taylor. I would assume that he got the starting job. Didn't see where. I just got the update on my phone. I didn't know what it was, but I did see Lane Taylor's name pop up.
All right, Brock, here we go. This is straight Spitfire random. What if I told you that Ryan Tannehill and the Miami Dolphins were going to go to Seattle and beat the Seahawks?
I think you're crazy.
You know what? I'm calling it. the Seahawks started off slow last year, and the Dolphins I think have an athletic offense. So that's my upset pick of the week, Brock. Miami beats Seattle in Seattle.
See, you're picking against your MVP right now, so
Hey, Russell Wilson can have a great day, but his team can still lose.
true. You think that defense at end the 12th man is going to let Ryan Tannehill throw on him? We'll see. I mean, it's clearly possible, but because we've seen the Rams do it, so
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean,
Speaking of the Rams, real quick, Jared Goff is going to be inactive week 1. Not second string, not third string, inactive. I mean, Sean Mannion, who Oregon State fans from about 5 years ago will love the name, but Sean Mannion beat out Jared Goff, so that's kind of, it's kind of worrying. I know the Rams are going to be bad this year, so they don't want to rush their quarterback into it. I'm sure he'll be starting midway through the season, but inactive week 1.
like I wouldn't say if I was a Rams fan, I would be like, we wasted a trade to trade up for the pick, and he's inactive and not even going to play. That part I would be like, what? Why did we do that? We could have just waited, and just got him at wherever they were in the draft at the time. But I think from an outsider looking in, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad move. I would like to see him suit up, I guess. I wouldn't like to see him inactive, but I feel like if he's not active the first 2 weeks, I wouldn't be surprised, just because it might be a learning curve. So he can see from the sidelines. I've heard from, not personally, but I've seen people or quarterbacks say they were for a year or sat out a few weeks and saw the game a whole different way and come back 10 times better. I think that's what they're hoping for out of Goff, to have him sit out and watch Case Keenum, how he runs the offense, and see if he can learn from anybody the style that the Rams want to run.
Right. All right, so let's go through the list. We're going to go all 16 games this weekend. I know Brock has his bold prediction for an upset coming up here somewhere in this list of 16 games. Not even I know what it is. So let's start with tomorrow night's game. Opening game of the regular season Super Bowl rematch. Carolina Panthers at Denver Broncos. Brock, who do you got?
I have Trevor Siemian getting the win this week. It's not going to be pretty, I don't think, but Peyton didn't win it pretty. So Denver pretty much has that whole defensive cast back, minus Trevathan and the D tackle. What's his name? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. They lost those two.
Can't think of it.
But I do think Denver wins no more than 7. I think it's a low-scoring game. Cam struggles again against Von Miller. Von Miller's going to excuse me. Von Miller's going to be on his back the whole game. DeMarcus Ware could be right there with him. It's going to be I think a long day for Cam again. Broncos win.
We're both in disagreement on both of the games picked so far. I have Carolina winning this game.
Revenge, I understand that.
I think that for the exact reason you said, but for the opposite team, I think that the Carolina defense is going to be all over Trevor Siemian. They like to scheme and mix things up and not make it obvious as to what they're doing. In terms of bringing pressure and all that. So I think Carolina takes it in Denver week 1. All right, here's one of our playoff teams. Crab Legs Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons.
I got the Bucks in that game clearly. Um, it's going to be a tough game, I believe. The Falcons, I just don't feel like the Falcons are powerhouse. I think the Bucks are, or can be. They have the whole tools. They have everything. They have everything that you want in a dominant team. So I have the Bucks winning at Atlanta.
It's pretty simple for me here. Atlanta's going to have a bad defense. Tampa Bay has skill position players ready to show out at all four positions. The one player, or one of a couple players who was on my list of fantasy players who don't draft under any circumstances is Devontae Freeman. I don't think he has a great season this year. And I think that starts week 1 against Gerald McCoy and the rest of the Tampa Bay defense.
Yeah, I think the Bucks, this is their year to make the playoffs, and Jameis Winston leads them there.
Absolutely. The next one, the Teddy Bridgewater lists Minnesota Vikings with Shaun Hill starting at quarterback.
Did they announce that?
They did, yes. Okay. Sam Bradford is, I think he might actually be inactive just from a term in point of not knowing the playbook well enough. Otherwise, he might be the number 2 quarterback. But Shaun Hill is getting the start. They go to Nashville and they play Marcus Mariota and the Tennessee Titans.
That game, I think that one's the closest game of the week, or hardest to pick of the week. But I'm going with the Titans. It's going to be a close game. Like I think 3 points, last second field goal wins it. But I think the Titans' run offense could be a little too much for that good Vikings defense. But again, the struggles that could appear for the Vikings is clearly on offense. If the Titans can just, here, we're going to put 9 in the box, throw it on us. Can Shaun Hill do that? We don't know. I think he's going to be able to. And then if they take, who they're bringing in, Joel Stave.
That's right.
And we know from experience that's probably not going to end well for them.
Yeah, I actually flip-flopped in the middle of saying Shaun Hill's the starting quarterback. I had the Vikings, but knowing that Shaun Hill's the starting quarterback, I flipped, and we both have the Tennessee Titans winning this game as well. The next one could be one of the uglier games of the weekend, I think. Cleveland goes to Philadelphia. Carson Wentz getting the start for Philly.
Well. Here's my bold prediction. I have the Browns going into Philly and beating them. I really do. Carson has, less than 30 snaps this preseason, and he's going to start. I don't think he has the chemistry with the wide receivers. He's played, what was his division? Division 2?
That's right.
The confidence isn't there in that quarterback yet. Yes, he has the tools, but really he didn't have a great season in college last year, so it's hard to even say that he can lead them to a win. Yes, that Browns defense isn't very good, but I wouldn't even say the Eagles defense is that good, so I think the Browns offense is just a little more in sync, and RG3 will get that offense to click, at least against the Eagles. He was recently named captain, so they're very high on him right now. So that's my bold prediction. Bold prediction this week is I have the Browns going into Philly and beating them.
We're in a disagreement there. I know you mentioned neither defense is spectacular. I'd go a step further and say that the Browns are going to have one of the 2 or 3 worst defenses in the NFL.
I could agree with that, but the Eagles' offense isn't very good. It doesn't scare me.
Yeah, and I'd like to throw this out there, and I'd be a betting man and I'd be willing to take this bet saying that Carson Wentz will have multiple touchdowns, no turnovers, and the Eagles win by at least 2 touchdowns. I'm just not very high on the Browns. As well, you're taking them as your bold prediction, but I don't think you're very high on them either. Obviously,
I feel like they're better than the Eagles right now.
Yeah,
they have more cohesiveness with that first team offense. That's what I'm going.
Yeah. All right. So next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals going to New York and taking on the Jets. I'll go first here. For me, it's pretty easy. Even though the Jets have a good defense, I think that Rex Ryan gets fired midway through the year. That was in our initial show, one of our bold predictions. Coach is getting fired. I think this starts the season off on a bad note. I think Cincinnati takes this game. I think Andy Dalton has a really good game, and A.J. Green gets off to a great start to the season.
I agree with you. Yeah, 100%. Jets, I feel like they're going to start off slow again. I feel like they're going to go start off 0 for 4. Rex Ryan gets fired. They turn the season around just a little bit. But yeah, I think the Bengals offense is just probably a little too much for that Jets defense to handle, especially if Eifert can come back and play.
A couple of quick fire ones here. Some, in my opinion, I mean, there's no such thing as a boring NFL game, but boring games. Oakland at New Orleans, young gunslinger Derek Carr versus older gunslinger Drew Brees. Who do you got?
I'm high on them. I was high on them early. I got the Raiders in that one.
I'm going with the Saints just for the simple fact that it's in New Orleans. Really good home field advantage there. San Diego versus Kansas City. Jamal Charles is still iffy for week 1. Phillip Rivers and the Chargers going to Kansas City.
I like the Chiefs' defense, so I'm picking the Chiefs. I think Alex Smith won't turn over the ball because that's what he's known to do. So if he doesn't turn over the ball, Chiefs win.
Yeah, I agree. Again, great home field advantage. The Chiefs running back kind of by committee last year worked after Jamal Charles got hurt, but the next one, Buffalo versus Baltimore. I know I mentioned Rex Ryan getting fired for the Jets. He actually coaches in Buffalo now,
we're geniuses. We're geniuses.
Which is the reason why. Which is the reason why I have Buffalo losing this game, because I think Rex Ryan and the Buffalo Bills start off slow. They lose at the Ravens.
That's why we're on YouTube, right?
That's right. Live-ish podcast, people. We're too cheap to edit out our mistakes, so you know when we mess up.
Yeah, I also have where is it?
Buffalo at Baltimore.
Oh yeah. I have Baltimore winning. I think the Ravens are a much improved team of last year, not just talent wise. They lost a lot of people last year to injury, so they're all back as far as I know. They did just re-sign after cutting him, Forsett.
Yep.
They did just re-sign him back, so I do have the Ravens beating the Bills.
A popular upset pick, not from anyone I know personally, because most of the people I know are too smart to pick this as an upset, but Chicago and the Bears going to Houston and playing the Texans.
Yeah, I don't know why that's a popular pick. That Texans defense is just way too much for the Bears and Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler, we see twice a year. We know what a little pressure will do to him. And if J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney perform like they did in the preseason, Jay Cutler could set the record for interceptions in a game.
Yeah,
if he doesn't.
Yeah, this is my pick for biggest blowout of Week 1.
Yeah, don't disagree with you there.
We're gonna skip over Green Bay Jacksonville now because I want to get I know you said 10 point game, but I want to get a score from you there, and I'll give mine as well. So we're gonna skip Miami and Seahawks. I chose Miami as my upset pick. You're going with Seattle.
Yep.
Next, we have the Giants going to Dallas.
As much as everybody loves Dak Prescott, that Giants defensive front is a animal. I feel like that defensive front could set a lot of a team record for at least sacks this year. They have a good defensive front up there. I think that, and the pressure of Dak Prescott, the pressure that's on his shoulders to perform in Dallas Week 1 against your rival, could be too much for that rookie to handle.
Yeah.
Which I got the Giants in that game.
Yep, I have the Giants as well. That front four, front seven for the Giants with signing Olivier Vernon to go with Jason Pierre-Paul should be pretty good this year. Let me get this for you. Over or under, as I'm writing this down because I just thought of it live. Again, over or under 100 yards rushing for Ezekiel Elliott, Brock?
Under.
Really?
I won't say by much, but I think he does get under because one, they are going to get him his touches, but they also have Alfred Morris back there, so I think that might lighten the load in Week 1. But we both know Jerry Jones is going to try to get him the most touches, but I mean, we'll see what Dez thinks about that.
All right, let me get this from you then. What if I told you over or under 140 total yards for Ezekiel Elliott between running and receiving?
I could see right above there, right about 150.
So you're going with the over?
Yeah, I could see him combined. Yes, I could see him putting up that kind of numbers. I think, especially with a young quarterback, like you said earlier, is their favorite targets are the dump down to the running back or their tight end. So we'll see there, because we've seen Dak Prescott favor Dez Bryant, which can you blame him?
Yeah.
But I mean, Jason Witten and Zeke will get plenty of touches, I feel like, this game.
Yeah, I have him going over 100 yards running, and I have the over on the 140 total yards as well. This next game, kind of a good game, maybe. It's kind of up in the air. It's two teams, one who I have making the playoffs, one who I have on the verge. Detroit versus Indiana. Andrew Luck coming back for the Colts. Detroit plays without Calvin Johnson on their team for the first time in about 10 years.
Yeah. I do have the Colts in that game. I think Andrew Luck will have a big first game. I think he'll throw for at least 3 touchdowns. I think he will will his team to win. We've both seen Andrew Luck the last few years, and he wants to win. I like him as a quarterback. This year might not be the greatest for the team, but I think he'll have a pretty good year and win them some games.
Yes, the Neard is making a comeback, and Andrew Luck is our president.
Quick shout out to Jordan Polk, who's going to be working there.
Yes.
P. Dizzle.
Yes.
Pokey. I don't know who Jordan is. Why did I say
JoJo for
that?
show 5, I believe is the Twitter handle. There might be a couple of underscores in there.
Yep. The old Pokey. No one knows who Jordan is. It's Pokey.
The next game here, probably maybe outside of Carolina, Denver, the best matchup in terms of the best two teams going at it. New England goes to Arizona.
I thought it was. Are you sure it's at Arizona?
I could be mistaken. Let me double check here. Yep, New England at Arizona.
I have it written wrong. I do have. This was one of the tough ones too, because without Tom Brady, obviously that is a big negative. But Jimmy Garoppolo is more than capable of performing well. But I do have the Cardinals in that game. I think their defensive front and secondary will fluster Garoppolo enough to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times and um, set up Carson Palmer and that offense in decent field position.
Yeah, I have the Cardinals winning too. Not necessarily because of Tom Brady alone, but also Rob Ninkovich. I think
Yes, that's a
he
big
was
one.
he got suspended for the first 4 games, excuse me. But he was already nursing an injury as it was, so I think he's a big miss for them on the in the front seven. So I have Arizona. I think if this game was at Gillette Stadium, I would flip. But I think Arizona's home field advantage takes it for them. Um, and then to the Monday night games, we have Pittsburgh at Washington.
I have the Steelers in that one. I think their offense is just going to be way too much for that Redskins defense with Josh Norman. I don't think Josh Norman has a chance against Antonio Brown. And I feel like it's just the Steelers. If their young defense can perform up to a decent standard, Big Ben will lead that team to victory.
Yeah, you might have found out from just this episode or previous episodes, but I'm a huge fan of the over/under. So speaking of that, you mentioned Josh Norman. I have Pittsburgh winning as well. So we have 2 Antonio Brown over/unders. The first one, over under 10 catches.
What about right at 10?
Nope. Over/under, Brock. No pushing.
Over.
Over. I'm gonna take. God, I
It's a
should
tough
have.
one. It's really tough.
It is. I'm gonna take the under on that one, just because I think he has a couple of big plays, and not necessarily catches. So 10 catches, and then the other over/under for Antonio Brown, 150 yards receiving.
Well, if he catches more than 10 balls, I would hope he would have more than
You'd think
150
so.
yards. So I got to go over.
Yeah, I think his stat line looks something like 7 catches for 195 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just something
Good God.
insane.
I'm more than happy with it. As some of the viewers might have seen my fantasy team, I do have Antonio Brown. So the more stats, the better. How about 18 catches for 300 yards? How about that?
11
6
touchdowns.
Hey, we called for a big year from the quarterbacks and wide receivers.
That's
Started
right.
off early.
And then the last Monday night game the last game before we get back to Green Bay Jacksonville.
The laugher one.
Yeah, possibly one of the uglier games of the week. St. Louis Rams going to San Francisco.
I think San Francisco wins it. Don't know why. Honestly, I think they're going to get a lot of fans there, and this might be ain't gonna lie, this might be the most viewed game of the week.
I don't know. I would say that, but this might be the most viewed pre-game of all time.
True, this is true.
I think that Colin Kaepernick gets a little bit warmer of a reception.
Yes.
I think that the Rams take this. I think the 2 best players in this game play for St. Louis in Todd Gurley and Aaron Donald. I think that's the reason why they take it, because they have the 2 most talented players on either side of the field.
Can I pick it to be like a 7-3 game?
Yeah, it's gonna be like a 2-3 game, just a safety and a field goal.
Todd Gurley. I'm a big fan of Todd Gurley. I think he'll have a big game. But Navarro Bowman is a beast.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he gets that defense to play together. They could contain.
I think we should actually start a
gonna be
petition.
What's that?
We need to start a petition to get Navarro Bowman traded or his unconditional release from San Francisco so he can play for a good team and go to the playoffs. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers were good a couple years ago, but they're not going to be good this year or next year.
Green Bay, I heard is hiring.
Yeah, like the Packers.
You said You said you wanted to trade Randall Cobb, so I
I
mean,
I would take it in a heartbeat.
I would take about Bowman if that was the trade.
Speaking of the Green Bay Packers, the not so frozen tundra of Jacksonville. Sorry, I don't know their stadium name. Um,
Nobody does.
Green
The Tim
Bay,
Tebow.
Green Bay at Jacksonville. Brock, I need the final score from you, and I need a give me a stat line. Give me a player and a player's stat line. So whether you want to go with
Oh,
A-Rod, Eddie Lacy, Jordy, give me a player and a stat line. Or, excuse me,
uh,
a score and a stat line.
are you gonna write this down? I don't have a pen.
Oh, yeah. I've been writing all these
All right.
down.
All right, I got the Packers winning 27-17. Eddie Lacy will have 20 carries for 125 plus yards and 1 touchdown.
Nice. I like that. All right. For me,
I feel like they're going to try. They're going to try to run the ball, especially we both know week 1 they're going to try to run the ball, establish a run. If they can do that, Eddie's going to have a lot of carries.
yeah, I think that's part of Mike McCarthy's philosophy is establish the run. Even if it's not working, establish the run, and that just sets up play action.
Yeah, and we both know that now with Jordy back, that over-the-top throw is always in effect with the play action.
Definitely.
And it's a thing of beauty.
I have the Packers winning. Gotta do the math here. And again, I explained this week 1. We explained this week 1 of our show. Homerism, it happens. I think the Packers are here. I think the Packers are here for real this year. They start off hot. The Packers go 34-13. 3-touchdown win today. Or not today, Sunday.
What's your stat line? Who's your stat line?
My stat line is going to go with the entire defensive secondary. I think the Packers have 3 interceptions of Blake Bortles.
I could see that. Blake Bortles has been known to throw the ball around a little bit.
Yeah, so again, Brock has the Packers winning 27-17. He has Eddie Lacy going for 20 carries for 125 plus yards and touchdown. Matt has the Packers going the winning 34-13. Blake Bortles throwing 3 interceptions. I'm even going to go as far as to say that all 2 of them come from Clinton Dix in the secondary.
I like that.
A little bit more of an actual stat line there. So, anything else that you want the people to know for week 1 of the NFL season, Brock? Or anything else you got to throw in there?
NFL is back here. It's the last or no more Sundays without football until February.
That's right. That's right. Again,
Praise Jesus.
I'll be in Vikings country Sunday, so I actually won't get to watch that either. Possibly.
You will.
I might be able to watch. I'll have to go sneak away from my wife's family to go to like B-dubs or something, and when they ask where I was, I'll tell them I got lost or something. Who knows?
Yeah,
that's possible.
That's a legit excuse.
Yeah, definitely. So make sure you guys tweet at us. Let us know how your opening weekend of fantasy football goes. Again, thank you guys for tuning in to a special Wednesday.
Hang on.
What? Jeez, I'm going too fast. I just want to get out. No, I'm just kidding. What do we got, Brock?
What if?
Thank you.
You almost forgot.
What if? I almost forgot. We brought this up last week. One of my personal favorite websites.
It is a pretty cool website. I do like it.
It's What If Sports.
Tweet at them.
Yes. WhatIfSports.com. You can follow them on Twitter at WhatIfSports. Basically, they use a bunch of different algorithms and statistics to run computerized matchups of any teams in NFL history. College football teams going back to 1997. You can create your dream team. So if you want to see LeBron play with Magic and Larry and Shaq and Kobe, you can do it. Not gonna lie, I've spent many hours just playing around on this. So
Yep.
this week's edition is the greatest
NFL.
NFL teams, and we narrowed it down a little bit. We went in the last 25 years or so. So if you're thinking, oh, the 85 Bears are on there, the 72 Dolphins, we want to narrow it down a little bit. Brock, you want to explain your team a little bit or why you chose them?
I picked the greatest show on turf. They had that 3-year run in 99 through 2001. 99 going to the Super Bowl, obviously. But I feel like that team is clearly one of the funnest teams to watch offensively. Yes, I'm a defensive guy, but that was the greatest show on turf that I think anyone has seen in a long time. And I picked them because I wanted to keep it a little older. I didn't want to go like Patriots or some bullshit team like that. I wanted to go get you some Rams. Giving the Rams some love since they've been a little down the last decade.
Yes. So Brock went with we went with the 2001 Rams for Brock. They had the best overall record or out of the 3 teams. They went 14-2 in 2001. Starting offensive lineup, skill positions: Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Troy Holt, Isaac Bruce, and Ernie Cornwell at tight end. For me, I went with a more recent team. I think I chose this team just because Brock chose a great offensive team. I want to see how one of the best defensive teams in recent memory would compete. So I went with the 2013 Seahawks. This year that they won the Super Bowl and destroyed Peyton in the process. The starting lineup, offensive skill players: Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, Golden Tate, Doug Baldwin, Zach Miller. We're decided that we're going to have this game played at Reliant Stadium since that is the home of Super Bowl 51 this year. Let's run it. And the final score was... One second, my phone is deciding that it wants to act up just a little bit. The final score: 2001 Rams 22, 2013 Seahawks 10. So relatively low scoring game.
Oh wow, that's surprising.
It is.
We're 1-1.
Yes.
Our record one. My win was a little more impressive. I will say that.
Let's see. Leading the Rams, Isaac Bruce, 4 catches for 57 yards. Only 1 touchdown thrown from Kurt Warner. That was to Torrey Holt.
Beast.
Let's see here.
I bet it was on Richard Sherman.
For the Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch held to only 29 yards rushing.
Wow, that's big.
Total yards for the Seahawks were all of 273. So a great defensive showing from one of the best offensive teams of all time. The interception from Kurt Warner was thrown to Brandon Browner of the Seahawks. So the player of the game is going to be Jeff Wilkins, who nailed 5 field goals. So an offensive struggle from a great offensive team. So again, the What If Sports Game of the Week: the 2001 Rams defeated the 2013 Seattle Seahawks 22-10. Now, Brock, before I try to close it out, you got anything else for the listeners?
Next week, join us. I assume we're back on Saturdays. Everything is okay with you there? Yeah, we're back on Saturdays.
Not this coming up Saturday. It'll be Saturday the 17th. We'll be back with our next episode.
Something like that. Yes, we'll be back. We'll recap all the week 1 of the NFL. Touch on a couple of college games if need be, any big upsets. Review the Badgers, and get ready for week 2 of that football. We will have a baseball special coming up. It's the end of the year coming up real quick in the next few weeks. So we might have another special edition of Jock Talk sometime in the middle of the week just to cover baseball. So stay tuned for that. Follow us on Twitter at Jock Talk, WINC, for all the latest updates on what we are planning to do. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, listening, giving us a listen. Like us on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, give us your questions, your input on the show, anything you want to hear or see, let us know. Yeah, anything else from you?
That's it. I'm just sitting here doing the Egyptian dance. It felt kind of weird not doing the closing, but you did as the kids are saying, you did it sick nasty, yo.
I don't think that's what they say, but I think it was pretty lit.
All right, thanks guys. We'll see you next week.